Hi everyone, hope you're all doing well. Today we're doing another reaction video, and today we're doing a reaction video on the potential of selling Google. So I like doing these sort of videos and hearing different opinions about stocks that I own, especially something like Google, which you guys know I've been trying to build Google into a top 3 position, and I'm getting very close to that now. I just need a little bit longer for these share prices to stay down here, and that potentially could happen. But we're going to have a look at one of the biggest YouTubers on the YouTube scene who posted a negative video on YouTube saying that they're potentially going to sell all of their shares, and I thought I'd give my thoughts on it. And I really like looking at what some of the big YouTubers say, because that's like an indicator of where the markets are. And quite often I feel like if you actually do the opposite to what a lot of people are saying out there, and you look at a lot of the reactions off stock prices, for example, so obviously it would make sense to have a negative view on Google when the share price is down. You know, you'll never catch many people having a negative view on Google, for example, when the share price is up. And it's always a great indication to see where the markets are. Like, for example, when so many people were bullish on Tesla, when Tesla was at like $400 or whatever it was in 2021. How many big YouTubers were you saying, oh yeah, buy the stock, buy the stock and all that, and then the stock went absolutely nosedived, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, now's potentially the time to be buying. And you see, like, for example, when the markets were really negative in 2022, how many of the big YouTubers were saying, oh, I don't know, I won't rush into it too much because 2023 is going to be quite negative. And then you have a big massive rally in the market, and then all of a sudden you see everyone, all the big YouTubers turn around and say, oh, you know what, potentially you could buy stocks, it's not going to be that bad. And then you have now the stock market coming down, because actually when you look at it, it priced in a lot of positivity, and now there's the concerns around inflation potentially still being around, and now the market's taking a bit of a breather. So I like to use some of the big YouTubers as indications of actually potentially that's a good indicator of that you potentially should be doing the opposite. So that's what I like to do. But we'll have a look at what at the moment this YouTube channel, Financial Education, has to say on Google.
Investor in companies, and it's when to sell a stock, right? And I'm going to take you through a stock that I'm considering selling. I have not made my final decision yet, but I'm strongly considering selling this stock.
And I think it's worth saying that I think from here that he actually did go on selling it.
It's a very, very difficult decision. This is a great company. It's one of the best companies in the world, but...
Well, if it's one of the best companies in the world, I wonder why you want to sell one of the best companies in the world. One of the giants out there, one of the untouchable moats out there, one of the best balance sheets, one of the biggest profit generators out there. Why would you want to sell one of the best companies in the world?
I might have to make a very tough decision to sell this stock, and I'm going to let you know what are the reasons behind this, because there's just so many things that look like they're going to be major headwinds for this company. And I'm also going to let you know where I would put it.
I would argue that it's already going through major headwinds. You know, this is a marketing company. We're in a really tough environment right now. You only have to stare at the financials at the moment to see that this company is being hit by the macro environment out there. I think that when you look at what's going on in the longer term with Google, and when advertising does return into a stronger economy, which we will get to a stronger economy one day, this is an amazing opportunity at the moment for a company like Google. So that's my thoughts on that.
That money, there's 2 stocks specifically that I'd be looking to move that money into. And I know this is a subject that a lot of people always want me to talk about, because I always talk about buying stocks, and I'm buying this stock, buying that stock, right? And as a long-term investor, like most of the time, 95% of the time, if not 99% of the time, you're going to be placing buy orders, right? Because as a long-term investor, you're not usually looking to sell. So it's not very often I ever even get to discuss this subject, but I know for a lot of you guys out there, right? You have a portfolio of 10, 15, 20 stocks, and sometimes you look at your portfolio and like, is this really, should I have the money?
A 10 stock portfolio, that is risky. You know, imagine that. That's like, if you just give a fair allocation, that's 10% of your portfolio in one position. Imagine if that one position went wrong. And I mean, as long as it's a safe position, but I wouldn't have a 10 stock portfolio. That's a subject for another day. I think you should have at least 20 stocks in a portfolio, but hey, that's subject for another day.
Versus another stock and those sorts of things. So yeah, difficult subject obviously to discuss today. Selling, definitely strongly considering selling the stock, and I appreciate everybody joining me as always. Thanks for being subscribed here. Tomorrow is the big day, folks. Tomorrow is...
I think we are talking about the Fed, so we'll just skip to where he talks about Google stock.
First reason is you have to feel like I have better place to put the money, right?
Okay,
criteria,
let's skip
right?
this bit. Let's
It's
go find where.
The stock I'm considering selling.
Okay, here we go.
Google McDougal. Okay, there's a stock I have. over $22,000 in right now in the public count. It's one of the smallest positions in the public count. It might be the smallest, I don't know. It's going to be close. But this is one I'm considering selling here, okay? And they have a lot going bad for them. So first off, Google has a lot of different businesses. But at the end of the day, what's actually driving the company? There's two real businesses with Google, okay? It's Google search and it's YouTube. Everything else is a joke compared to those two.
Oh, I do not agree on that. So I agree YouTube and Google are big massive parts of the platform. Both of them rely on advertising. That's why both of them are struggling at the moment, and I think advertising will come back, as which I talked about a little few minutes ago when I said that the marketing will return on Google. But when you look at one really big part of the platform that isn't getting impacted by the macro environment at the moment is the cloud. The cloud is growing very, very well. So if we actually look off the recent earnings for Google, you'll be able to see that Google Cloud actually went from 5.5 billion to 7.3 billion. This is really, really good amounts of growth for Google Cloud. Now, obviously, it's not as loud, as big as some of the other parts of the platform. In fact, it's fair when you do look at YouTube ads, it is catching up YouTube ads. So the fact that Financial Education said that Google Cloud, all the other parts of the business is irrelevant. Well, Google Cloud says different when it's nearly overtaken YouTube ads already. So this is growing really good, and the fact is that Google Cloud is growing faster than the likes of Microsoft. It's growing faster than Amazon. So this is a major part of the business here that's outpacing a lot of the other competitors. Now, obviously, you can argue that the scale of the other two are a lot larger, and that's why the growth is slower. But I still think this is a very impressive point to be using at the moment. And the great thing is when you look at the cloud, what's important about the cloud, it drives mass amounts of profit growth. The margins on cloud are massive. It's like when you look at Amazon's earnings, for example. When you look at Amazon's earnings, the actual retail, the e-commerce part of the platforms aren't really offering much profit growth to Amazon. What drives the major amounts of profit in Amazon is the Amazon Web Services. It's the cloud. And you look here, look at the amounts of profit that is actually driving. It's the most profitable part of the business. And now at the moment, Google Cloud isn't currently contributing profit to the business, but one day it will do. And do you look at the amounts of profit that has driven for Amazon? This is a major part of the business, and this is the part of the business that hasn't been affected by the macro part of the macro has affected any parts of this platform. It's affected all the other incomes for Google at the moment, and that's why it's been devastating on the share price. But you look at this is a key driver for growth and profitability in the next few years. So I will not be discounting that at all. And I think that's been the most impressive part of Google recently.
They make all their money, Google and YouTube, okay? And both of those businesses have significant problems over the next few years, okay? So I'm sure you guys have heard of
I would argue they're having them now.
Recently, right? And this is not just a problem in terms of a long-term competitive, serious threat for Google search that they haven't seen in the past. There's something much deeper here that you got to understand, okay? Google's Bard AI could cost a 10x as much as traditional keyword search, okay? And so it's about essentially, if you were to do an AI search versus doing a Google search, it is going to cost Google a fortune. And the other component of this is, how does Google fit into their ads into an AI search, right? That's not a very good experience if you're doing it that way. And so this is why Google called in Sergey Brin, Larry Page, the founders of Google, because this is such a significant threat on two different fronts. One is potentially taking market share away. The other is how much more this could cost Google's business model, which significantly could disrupt, obviously, their net income for this company, okay, and their earnings per share, which obviously affects the stock in a meaningful way. This goes a little bit deeper here. And if you want to pause the video, you can check this out here, okay? More cost for Google AI. And this shows you the percentage of Google queries if it was handled by generative AI, right? And what the cost with that would be if, for every word, essentially, the AI program kind of gives to you out there. And if you spend...
Now, it's a bit of rambling going on here, so I'm just going to skip past this bit a little bit here, but... I hate all this about Chat GPT at the moment. Like, it's come out of nowhere. Everyone's going absolutely crazy about it. It's the AI hype at the moment, which I think is massively over-exaggerated. And people are just assuming that this is going to be mass adoption straight away. There's still got to be a lot of incorporation into platforms. Likes of Microsoft, for example. you've still got to incorporate that into like Microsoft Edge, for example. And Google are going to have a good platform. All these costs here are speculation. Nobody knows. Only Google themselves know how they're going to incorporate that into the actual platform. And the thing with Google at the moment is you've got all the people on your platform, and that is the big advantage. And it's not going to be an overnight thing where people just switch to ChatGPT and it's mass adoption straight away. This is going to be years and years, and everyone's got carried away and just thought automatically, oh, they're the winners over there. ChatGPT at the moment, you know, that's the winners over there. Google with their Bard, for example, they've got some of the best developers in the world. They've got the best balance sheet to plug all the cash into one. They've got all the users at the moment. People have suddenly started to write off Google just because of this quick hype that's come out of nowhere. And it's absolutely crazy. People have just discounted Google and think that they're going to be so slow to adapt to this situation. I can tell you right now, the number one priority at the moment will be making sure any threats at the moment, Google counter them threats. And at the moment, all that this is built on is speculation. Speculation over something that won't even come massively adopted for the next few years yet. And if you think Google aren't going to respond to this, if you think Google aren't going to have the developers, the cash to put into this to deal with this issue, you're absolutely crazy. Obviously, they're going to be dealing with this situation. So, yeah, this is just speculation at the moment, which is just crazy.
They can take market share from Google in this situation, and obviously, it would cause a lot of damage to Google. So this is a significant threat to Google search that we haven't seen, guys. We haven't seen a significant threat to Google search in like the last 20 plus years. Like, as soon as Google got ahead,
I'm not sure I agree with that. You know, every single web browser has always attempted to take market share from Google. You know, you've had Ash Jeeves come in, same sort of platform. You know, it's beaten it. You had the likes of Firefox, for example, come in and beat it. Microsoft Edge are always trying to take market share from Google, improving their browser, and it hasn't happened.
Right? Like, we haven't seen any significant threat. Other companies try to compete, do this, do that, but it was like Google already had won at that point in time. But I can tell you, this is so disruptive, and that's why Wall Street's starting to price this into the stock, because they're realizing, oh my gosh, it's a market share battle, plus...
I don't know if they're being priced into the stock. I mean, if we look at YouTube, if we look at the share price, it's not really done anything in the last few months, and it hasn't broke them 52-week close.
It could weaken their business, and there's almost no scenario where this is going to help Google. Almost no scenario over the long term here, okay? And if you're thinking this is going to hit Google's numbers in the short term, like over the next year, not really. It's really about, what about 3 years out, 5 years out, 7 years out, which is where I'm looking for a stock. And I'm like, there's no scenario where this is going to help Google.
And I would think Google, when you're talking 3, 5, 7 years, you don't think Google are going to respond to this big threat? Crazy. They're not going to stand still.
There's only scenarios where this is going to hurt them in market share or just adding costs to their business model that they previously didn't have. And so this is significant, man. It's huge. And so while you've seen Google go down recently, it's not just for that, okay? Now, their other big component business that they get major money from is YouTube. And I got some shocking things to kind of show you here, guys, okay? But the bottom line is YouTube has a epic problem actually on its hands right now, okay? And it's this. TikTok and Instagram Reels are a massive threat to YouTube, okay? It doesn't mean people don't use YouTube anymore, but it means essentially market share is being stolen. There's only so much time you have, right, to enjoy content, right? Maybe just watch my channel. I appreciate everybody that, you know, comes and watches my stock market videos and all that. I appreciate y'all, right? But you only have so much time in a day, right? You could also be watching Netflix right now rather than watching this video. You could be scrolling TikTok 10-second videos right now. You could be scrolling Instagram Reels, right? But instead you're spending time with me, and I appreciate that. But the bottom line is a lot of the younger generation are moving away from a lot of the longer form content, and now they want this like 10-second, 30-second, like quick, you know, on to the next one. I want to watch a pasta recipe, and then I want to watch somebody entertain me, and then I want to watch this, and then I want to watch somebody dancing around, then I want to watch this, and it's like, you know, this quick action, boom, 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 you know, instead of this long form content that's YouTube. And so a lot of the younger generation has gravitated toward that, and that's what they're used to. So it doesn't mean they deleted YouTube and they're never going to use YouTube in the future, but the bottom line is these are taking massive market share in time and attention away from actual YouTube now at this point.
Now, I agree with this point here because TikTok, there's always a battle for time, and that's always a big threat to YouTube, is that someone else comes out of a platform. But there's a big difference between short-term and long-term content. Now, obviously, there has taken, especially for the younger generation, has taken some time away because of the short-term content that they like at the moment. But YouTube isn't going to disappear off overnight because of TikTok, but they have to reinvent themselves, and that's what they've tried to do with like the likes of YouTube Shorts. And let's not forget, Reels has only been invented because of TikTok. So I agree this is a threat to Google, but they have tried to solve that by bringing out obviously the YouTube Shorts, and we'll see how that one plays out. But there is always that threat with YouTube that there is another platform that does take over them. So fair point, but I wouldn't say it's a major break at the moment or disruption, because they are trying to combat it at the moment.
Point in time, and let me show you some shocking numbers here, okay? So this is the last 28 days, and this is the age groups of people that watch my channel, for instance, right? Now my biggest audience is 35 to 44 year olds. Shout out to the 35 to 44 year olds that are watching this video right now. I appreciate y'all, okay? That's my biggest group now at this point in time. And this is a major change from where my channel was many years ago, okay? This is pretty shocking. My third biggest age group now at this point in time is 45 to 54 year olds that watch my channel, okay? That's my third biggest age group. And look at how small the younger generation is. 13 to 17 year olds is non-existent now at this point in time. Like, basically no one under the age of 18 like watches my channel anymore. If you're under the age of 18, you're watching this video right now, like, that's insane to me. Like, that's literally insane because you're like one of the only people like out there that even watches this channel that's under that age. But look at how weak the numbers are for anybody under 25 now at this point in time, okay? And that's because a lot of these people, they're not coming to watch YouTube. They're spending their time on TikTok and Instagram now and just watching that content and rather than spending an hour or 2 hours watching YouTube videos, they spend an hour or 2 hours on TikTok, scrolling a million different videos in Instagram now at this point in time, okay? And remember these charts right here, because the next chart I'm going to show you is going to be pretty shocking here when you see this. Remember what you're looking at right there, okay? This is what it used to be, okay? This is my lifetime of this. My biggest age group used to be 25 to 34 year olds by far and away, right? And my third biggest age group used to be 18 to...
Now I can see what point financial education is trying to make here, but the big thing you got to remember here is that this is just his YouTube channel. I won't use my analytics as a view of what's going on with YouTube, because you could just be in a niche that commands different age variations between what's going on in the environment of a financial market at the moment. So I wouldn't say that's an indicator of where YouTube is. I would say naturally though that 18 to 24 category has been pulled onto TikTok a little bit more. I would 100% agree with that. But I wouldn't say that is, I would use my analytics as a view of where YouTube's going to be in the longer term. I definitely won't be doing that. And you got to remember, like, as a finance channel at the moment, are younger people going to be that bothered in finance at the moment? No, because what have we had at the moment? We've had bear markets. People aren't attracted into a stock market investing when we've had a bear market for the last year and a half. The only time you get people or younger generation attracted into the stock market is when things are going up and up, and all the mates are saying, oh, I've invested into so and so and now it's gone up so and so, oh, I like that, I'm going to get involved in that. You only have to look at the likes of like Robinhood, which is, you know, dictated around younger investors, and look at their user drop off at the moment, and that's a clear example that younger people are not bothered about finance. So to use a finance channel's analytics as an indicator of where YouTube is, I definitely wouldn't do that, but I understand that there will be some drop off in this category because of the move to short term content.
24 year olds, 18, 24 year olds, right? And look, at least you could see the under 18 crowd back then, right? But the bottom line is this age group is being stolen away by TikTok and Instagram. And that's a significant problem for YouTube long term. That's a significant problem because, you know, if the previous generations like myself, I could spend an hour, 2 hours on YouTube every day pretty much, right? But now, if the newer generation doesn't even come on YouTube, or maybe they come on for 10
If you talk to a lot of the younger generations, they still want to be YouTubers, don't worry. They don't want to be TikTokers.
Because they'd rather watch TikTok or Instagram Reels. It's a significant long-term problem for YouTube, okay? I'm showing you the numbers right there in front of you. That's a problem.
And that's the thing is, I'm sure as a finance channel, he has not switched to more shorts. So clearly, if he had moved to shorts, potentially then he saw a boom in that category, because maybe they are still on YouTube, but they're only watching finance channels that do shorts. So that's a clear example once again why I wouldn't use my channel analytics as an indicator of where YouTube is going forward.
Okay. Now, next problem, if that wasn't enough, okay, both their business models being disrupted in a major way over these coming years, this is an issue, okay? The U.S. government is suing Google again, okay? The new U.S. government lawsuit alleges Google has harmed innovation and raised costs for internet users by attempting to monopolize the digital advertising industry. So if there's anything, Google has to look weak for the next several years, because if Google looks strong, if they look like they don't have any competition for this next few years, then the Department of Justice is going to come down on Google even harder, okay? And when you got the DOJ coming after you,
I mean, this happens for, Google's always had issues where they've maybe pushed the boundaries a little bit. You only have to look at the history of the amount of times that they've been investigated for, antitrust and everything like that. All the big tech have it. Meta's had it, Apple's had it, Amazon's had it. This isn't anything new. This has been going on for like 10 plus years, so this isn't a major issue.
The legal cost of that is astronomically high, right? Plus, there could be potentially huge fines coming. They're going to try to...
Which they've had previously before.
Like that's probably not super realistic, but it's just kind of like...
It's alright when you've got an amazing balance sheet as well to pay for it.
This is a significant issue for Google right now, okay? So let's get this right, okay? Let's get this right. The Department of Justice is coming after Google, okay? Their main search platform that generates most of their money is being disrupted in a huge way over this next few years because of artificial intelligence, okay? And being disrupted on many different fronts, from a market share standpoint.
See, next week, wouldn't you want to see evidence that it's been disrupted rather than just making that judgment now?
And a cost standpoint as well, right? Plus, how do you advertise in there? It's being disrupted actually in 3 ways, okay? That's horrible. That's like a trifecta. And then YouTube is having a lot of the younger viewers taken away, and those folks are rather just watch short form content, 10, 30-second videos on TikTok and Instagram. That's a lot of problems there, and that's why I'm looking at this as a long-term investor. I'm like, oh gosh, like there might be better places for my money when I look at all these different problems at this point in time, okay? Now, in regards to valuation, the valuation doesn't look rich on Google. That's the thing I talked about. Like, it's not like, ooh, Google's some overvalued stock where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's trading at this PE or that PE or whatever. No, it's a fair valuation on this company. But given the epic amount of problems over this next few years, you have to start to wonder if in 2024, 2025, 2026, if Google's profitability could actually start to erode and the company could actually have a net income, which is almost hard to even imagine because Google's net income for almost all of eternity has just gone to the moon, right? But it's a possibility that Google's net income, starting maybe even in 2024, could start actually downtrending, which...
But wouldn't you want to see evidence of that happening? If I would not go on ifs and buts, I would look at Google and look at them previously and gone, they've got a history of smashing it. I will back them to do it. There's got the benefit of the cloud coming in. I'm sure that's going to drive up profit. Wouldn't you want to see evidence of that in the financials before making that decision and saying that it is going to decelerate?
Which would be shocking because of the cost of the new AI program. Plus, YouTube
which we don't know.
So many of their users being stolen away by TikTok and Instagram. That's something I look at and I'm like, oh gosh, man, this is a significant threat. And then what do you slap on a P ratio at that point in time? If the company has a down net income starting to report, then you're going to have to be valued, like a company that's in decline. And then you're talking about a P ratio of 50, like the 12 to maybe 15 range, 10 to 15 even. And that's a long way from 20, right? And so that's where I start to imagine, I'm like, shoot, could Google actually be dead money? Am I putting my money in a stock that might be dead money for years to go in the future? That's something I'm concerned about, okay? So a couple stocks I'm considering putting the money in if I do make this final decision to sell Google, which we'll see if it happens.
So, hold on. So that's enough for the Google part of it, but crazy to think that Meta, that is a platform that is more short-term content focused, that's been affected more by marketing and by TikTok more than what Google has, as a significant better opportunity than Meta, Google at the moment. But I'll close the video there because I think that's absolutely crazy. I think a company that's going to be affected more and more by the short-term impacts is obviously Meta more than Google, which hey, whatever. But yeah, overall, I think that most of what was built on there was, the chat GPT, which I think is just so overhyped at the moment. I will wait for that to develop more. I think people are assuming that that's a transition that's going to happen overnight and have totally written off Google and what they'll bring out to solve that issue. I think that is something to watch more than to develop more than joining on that hype. I think the point with the TikTok is a fair point. I think the younger generation is getting more pulled into that sort of platform at the moment. But you got to remember, YouTube isn't the major part for Google, but obviously we still want it to do well. But the thing is that once again, it's key to see how Google react to that with like the YouTube Shorts, for example. And there's also still, I think, a demand for long form content. That's still very much something that you would want to get. If you want to watch someone on YouTube that you really like, you are willing to probably watch that content for more than 20 seconds. You probably want to watch that content for them talking for 10-20 minutes or whatever it is. So I think that is one of the main battles they have got at the moment, which will be tricky for them to fight away with, but I would probably have confidence they do resolve it. And then you factor in, which wasn't even mentioned in the video, which was the cloud generation, and how much generation of revenue and profit that could potentially throw off in the next few years is very exciting. So yeah, I think there's some fair points in here, but I also think some things have been over exaggerated for what the hype is at the moment. And also when you consider the valuation it's at, we just mentioned very quickly on there, which was 17 forward times earnings. I don't think we'll see Google at 12 times earnings or whatever it was that was mentioned. For an amazing brand, let's not forget a brand. Most brands, if you look at the likes of Nike, for example, I think Nike's like 30 times earnings. I think something like Starbucks is over 30 times earnings. It's not ridiculously valuation. You can always look at the likes of something like a Nike, for example, and go, oh, so-and-so's coming into this area and disrupting it. Or you could look into the likes of Starbucks and say, oh, there's this new coffee chain that are coming in and disrupting it. Should that be 12 times earnings? So, yeah, I think there's a lot of assumption here without much facts around the numbers deteriorating, which I think would be key. I'd prefer not to make assumptions off what's going to happen. I would like to look at actual facts and financials and see how that develops in the long term. And at the moment, I'd be very much backing the company that has amazing track history, amazing profit, amazing balance sheet, so much cash that they can invest into the company, buy back tons of amounts of shares. So yeah, that's my thoughts at the moment. And like I said, I would use it as an indicator right now to sum up. There's a lot of fear priced around that Google stock at the moment. There's a lot of fear priced in at the moment on a lot of things that are being over exaggerated, and I would say that this is potentially one of those that you'd look at a key indication that, okay, there's a lot of negative sentiment here. Could this potentially be a buying opportunity where there's a lot of overreaction and assumptions on things that are going to change this business model, when really it's still going to be a very, very strong business model? So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video anyway, guys. Catch you in a bit.